When terror hits close to home, it is hard to make sense of the situation. And for parents, it's even harder to talk to your kids about something that even you might still be processing. Joining us now is clinical psychologist Dr. Tim Hope to share more about how you can talk to your family dealing with this tragedy. Dr. Hope, thank you so much for joining us.
Morning.
You have some great tips for us today. The first is to listen to your child's concerns first.
Sure. So this is based on, does your child know about what happened yesterday? So assuming that they do, they probably will have some pretty big questions. And so your job is to first sort of accept that and warmly respond to them and say, what are you concerned about? Tucking them into bed at night, do they have some fears or anxieties? And just be receptive. What are they thinking about?
That's a great tip, though, because you don't want to inundate them with knowledge or maybe give them facts that they don't have. You want to first listen to what they know and respond to that, because there's no point in filling them up with a lot of potentially harmful things.
Right. Actually, in our home, we haven't been watching any of the news reports with our kids. They don't know about what happened yesterday. And for now, that's okay, because so much of what is happening, so much of what's being reported is lots of question marks. So that could only fuel anxieties for them. When there are things that we know, we'll provide them with facts that they can understand.
And you want to say those facts in language that's very clear and easy to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much of what happens with these kinds of horrific acts is difficult for adults to understand. So as much as possible, if we can boil things down into a language that they can understand, that will be helpful for them.
I think a lot of kids, are just looking for a hug for that matter. And your next tip is to reassure them that you're okay and that they're okay and that everything will be okay.
Right. One of the wonderful things about today's technology is that we can share information from all around the world instantly. One of the side effects of that, though, is that these images are happening so that it feels like that it's happening right now to kids when they see those images. So instead, we turn off the TV, we reassure them, things are okay, we're going to carry on with our normal routine, we are still going to go to the park today, we are still going to go to our 5K, the Daffodil Run, and those are the ways that we continue to carry on with life. That's how you combat these kind of acts.
Because you need to continue on with your regular routine, with what you normally do, because you don't want to tip your hand to say something might be out of the ordinary.
Right. That when things are out of the ordinary and that schedule and that routine gets out of the ordinary, for kids that can lead them to have the question marks of, well, what's going on? Is there something really wrong that's happening?
And that being said, it's important that we go back and forward from this, even if we are afraid, to at least pretend as if we are unafraid and go to those big events and do what we would normally do and not let this terror get in our way.
One of the primary treatment approaches for anxiety is to do the thing that you're afraid of, as long as it's not truly threatening to you. And the fact is that these kinds of actions happen occasionally throughout the world, but they aren't happening every day in every place in every city. So the vast majority of the time, you are going to be just fine. So do the thing that you're afraid of.
Dr. Hope, we always talk about the children, how we're going to address our children. What if we're freaking out a little bit, which is completely normal after something of this magnitude that just happened?
It's a human response. My heart goes out to the people who were involved there, and those images are very frightening, and thank God that I wasn't there and that people that I know weren't harmed there. And it is still upsetting, and so what I do is I talk with my wife and I get my facts and we get ourselves squared away, and then with that knowledge, with that feeling more secure, we go in and help reassure our kids.
That's true. These tips are both for children and for adults. As adults, you have to go about your normal routine. You have to go to work, because if not, you're letting them win. And your last tip, which is great, is to reach out to everyone, friends, family, relatives, just to feel more okay.
Yeah, that's what these social networks are all about, is really making connections and sort of reassuring ourselves that, are you okay? Is there anything that you need? Because we are social beings, we're social animals, and that's where we derive our strength, is by connections.
And lastly, if talking to someone or just talking to your children isn't enough, there's family counselors, there's personal counselors, there are people out there, and it's okay to visit them.
Yep, your children's school staff, there are school psychologists and guidance counselors, school adjustment counselors. Talk to your pediatrician. There are psychologists and social workers in the community. We're all here to help.
Dr. Hope, thank you so much for coming and helping us today.
You're welcome.
These trying times, it's so nice to have someone like you coming and chatting with us about it.